People need to understand what's going on. So I'm going to break this down as simply as I can, not just for you, but for me. Because I don't come into this with some vast intellectual background. I don't have a foreign policy degree. I didn't serve time in the military. The only military figures I know are Captain Crunch and General Mills, who made all my cereal. Maybe you throw in Sergeant Slaughter because he's been on my TV show. But what Trump is doing right now is regaining hemispherical control. It is the Monroe Doctrine 2.0. There's a lot of things we have tolerated on our home continent for far too long. Encroachments from China, Russian advances down in Cuba, the Belt and Road Initiative that kind of made most of South America beholden to China. Trump taking that and coupling it with the threat to America from the narco trafficking and the drugs and everything in between has essentially just taken a look at the world and said to them,
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
He's not going to take it. He doesn't have to take it. Okay, United States, you're the biggest military superpower in the world, and we do have the American might, and we also have the economic leverage to force these guys to start playing ball on our terms. And that's what he's doing. This was sanctioned oil that was earmarked to go to Iran, and that's where they thought it was going when it left the port.
Wrong.
Now, a lot of people were freaking out on TV. Oh, he seized the boat. Well, I got to be honest. If you're on the oil tanker, getting seized is probably better than what Trump's been doing to the other boats sailing through that channel.
That's true. That is true.
But it is not unprecedented. You're going to hear people go on TV today and be like, oh, they're taking the boats. You can't be out there taking the boat.
Democrats are so full of crap.
Totally. Because this started back under George H.W. Bush in 1990. He was seizing these seized oil tankers. Okay, Trump talked about it yesterday at the White House. Here it is, clip 30.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later. It was seized for a very good reason.
Okay, so that's Trump, and he goes on to explain what's going to happen to the oil, clip 31.
What happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going? Was it going
follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But
Cuba?
I assume we're going to keep the oil.
So that's Trump saying he assumes we're going to keep the oil, and we are. That is technically what happens in this instance. And before somebody gets in your ear and tells you this is unprecedented, we've never seen it before, I did the work on this and got you a CNN national security analyst by the name of Beth Sanner on CNN last night with Jake Tapper, who ostensibly brought her on to be like, this is Hitler stuff, and it's the death of democracy, and white Cheeto Jesus Hitler is stealing boats now. What the hell's going on? But he did not get the take he probably expected from CNN's national security analyst, Beth Sanner. And I want to make this point before I play the clip. Whenever I'm on the air, on this show, it's Fox News Radio. We're on, 200 independently owned stations around the country and that's great. We're thrilled to be a part of your lives every day. For real, we're profoundly thankful. For a guy who was driving a cab, a few years ago, this is a big damn deal, okay? So we get on the air every day and have a great time. Drive it like we stole it. But when I'm trying to make a point, I will always go out of my way to get you a voice that is not a Fox voice, because I don't want any intellectually lazy person to go, oh, of course, yeah, the Fox guy says Trump didn't do anything wrong. And I had to do this during Trump's entire legal odyssey. Every single day that Trump was in court, whether it was the Tish James case, the Alvin Bragg case, the Georgia case, you could go, if you really were looking for objective people. CNN's chief legal analyst, Eli Honig, was on TV every night saying Trump shouldn't have been charged for any of this, and it was all a scam. And I want to give him credit for that, because trust me, we do plenty of making fun of CNN on this show.
CNN is the worst.
In a lot of ways they are, but it doesn't mean everybody who works there does so without dignity. They're not all Brian Stelter. They're not all Don Lemon, wherever the hell he is, calling us racist next. Okay, but the point is, some of these legal analysts, it's like financial analysts, they'll go on and call balls and strikes. And I want you to hear it from them and not Fox, because I don't want some lazy person to go, oh, he's just shilling for the Republican Party. Dude, I don't care about the Republican Party. I'm trying to figure out where to take my wife for dinner right now. It's her birthday. That's what I'm doing. I'm a real guy. I get on the air. I try to have these conversations, give you a little perspective. I'm not here to move the needle. We're not here to convince you to adapt my ideology or belief system. I am a hot mess. I'm 48. I play video games. I should not be in charge. But here is Beth Sanner on CNN giving you their take, which sounds a lot like mine. Clip 33.
How could this escalate the conflict with Venezuela?
Well, we've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil since the first Trump administration. And
Biden kept them.
Kept them.
Yeah.
So to me, this is absolutely normal. I mean,
seizing an oil tanker?
Yeah. We've been seizing Iranian oil tankers in the past. We also, according to the law that I've read, that oil is up for forfeiture. So we could keep that. We've kept Iranian oil in the past. I think this is actually a pretty, check the box case.
Mm-hmm. I admire your honesty.
Okay, Jake Tapper did not have her on set. Is she saying this is normal? And Jake Tapper goes, Trump implemented the sanctions. And she goes, but Biden kept them. Okay, Jake Tapper, as she's talking, is saying this in his head. No! Because they're not there to hear that Trump's doing things legally correctly. That's why they tried to make such a hullabaloo around those boat strikes. Do you remember those boat strikes on the drug vessels were a big deal until people saw the declassified video in the skiff and went, oh, wow, okay, so we've been lying about this whole war crime thing and there was a JAG officer there. I guess we'll shut up now. You see, what they do in mass media is they're trying to win a news cycle. They're not trying to inform you. They're not trying to make a better society. They're trying to cheat their angles in ways that make you less inclined to support the Republican Party. Okay, I don't want to make, I just detest that. There's just such a bereft lack of integrity to that style of broadcasting, which I think is the same if I'm just here shilling for the Republican Party. I just want to, I guess, shill for the truth and some, perspective, and you guys will go where you want. But Marco Rubio is a Secretary of State and has been as consequential of a Secretary of State as we've had in our lifetime, with the peace deals they're trying to make, with obviously this narco-terrorist issue they're trying to resolve, and everything else that's been going on the world stage. This guy has been a wildly consequential Secretary of State. But here he is talking about the EU leaders, European Union leaders, who are mad at Trump about the drug strikes. Because, again, there is a mindset out there on the left that the drug strikes are wrong. They're morally wrong. You can't just go out and kill these people. Just because they're trafficking deadly drugs into your country that'll kill a lot more people than the ones we have on the boat doesn't mean you should be killing them. The term they use a lot to describe this in the European Union is suicidal empathy. A lot of European countries who, by and large, are good-hearted people, see migrants fleeing war-torn regimes or corrupt nations that don't necessarily share their values or respect women's rights in any way. If you've Googled the rape crisis in Europe, it is, my God, it's disgusting. It's mind-blowing. It's heartbreaking in so many different ways. But they've let people into their country that are just raping everything in sight. And one of the reasons why is that suicidal empathy. They're like, well, we don't want to be discriminatory. We don't want to be racist. Okay, mass migration's a good thing is what we're going to say. But it's not. Okay, immigration is a great thing. Our country is built on it, but it's built on legal immigration. When you can't vet the people, when you're bringing in people who share your values, who are in your country for the purpose of assimilating and buying into the American dream, immigration's great. But if you're bringing in people from countries that don't share our social values and just trash the place and demand free stuff, immigration bad. And that's why, because it's illegal. And that's why the term suicidal empathy exists in our politics. Well, that same suicidal empathy belongs when it comes to this drug boat thing. Okay, there's a lot of people that'll get on your TV and go, oh, they're just trying to make a living. Oh, really? So if I run out to Times Square right now and snatch a bunch of purses, the cops should let me go because I'm just trying to make a living? Like, it's bananas. But that's why Marco Rubio kind of read them their truth last night. And this is the book into what I said off the top of the show. Donald Trump is enacting the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe 2.0. Okay, 2.0. It was all about asserting hemispherical control. You guys do what you want around the world. It's not quite isolationism so much as we're not going to just sit here and only operate on our continent. We're just not going to let you corrupt our continent and encroach on our strength and our interests in this region. That's what the Monroe Doctrine is about. Here is Marco Rubio kind of reading them their truth, clip 29.
I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. No, they certainly don't get to determine is how the United States defends its national security. The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting that all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem. So I would say that the United States and this president has made very clear, his job is to protect the United States from threats against the United States, and that is what he's doing in this operation.
Amen. We're protecting our home hemisphere. Okay, it's the Monroe Doctrine 2.0. Little Marco telling the world they're going to get a little more James. That's what's happening.
And I'm out here in the real world, and I know what's right or wrong or bullshit.
If you're using your brain, you get on Instagram, you get on Twitter right now, and you wish Jenny Fela a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jenny Fela. Jenny, happy birthday.
Don't know the
Jenny Fela!
As Ryan Reese says, we don't know your age. We're not going to ask you your age because that's rude. How much do you weigh? That's a funny bit he does. But joining me now in studio to not only celebrate Jenny's birthday party, but to shake off a significant hangover from the Fox News Christmas party, the K train has rolled into the station. Woo! Kennedy's here and the crowd goes wild. Hello.
Yes. Hello, Jim.
Listen, man, I don't nitpick, okay? Fox threw an opulent, when you talk about a top shelf party, we were literally on the top of like a skyscraper facing the Hudson River.
That's right.
But it would have been a better party if it was a little bit louder. Can we agree?
They had a band turned up to 11 in a glass house.
The band?
There was no absorption of the sound. It bounced off of all of the glass.
No one
and right into your eardrums. And it's like even the youngs who were there, the kids, the Gen Alphas were like, man, it's too friggin' loud, and you couldn't talk to anyone.
Can't hear anything. And no one in our building has a real voice today because everybody was screaming. And it is, to your point, the youngins. Mara Jetty, the great Mara, who handles your podcast, Kennedy Saves the World. Listen every day. I just saw Mara in the hallway, and her voice cracked like when you're a little boy answering the home phone, and the person goes, Mrs. Fela? And you're like, hold on, I'll get her. And that was exactly what Mara just did in the hallway to me and Mikey. I go, Mara. She goes, ah.
Everyone.
So it was a wild night.
Yeah.
It was a wild night. A lot of drinks, good dancing. The band was great. They were
phenomenal.
We were in a place called the Glass House.
Yes.
She's not kidding. It was all glass. I don't know what you guys know about glass. There's not a lot of soundproofing.
So we had the Fox Christmas party at a bowling alley a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they made these custom-made Fox News bowling balls.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to leave the party early, so I took one. And I've still got it on my shelf at home. That's a true story.
Two biggest heists in Fox history, that and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who declared on set he was stealing the mug from my TV show, and no one knew how to respond.
Yeah.
He just shoved Annie out of the way and put it in his man purse and walked out. And now we're short a mug.
Yep.
So if you see somebody with a solo cup on Saturday night's panel,
someone stole my Kennedy mug from Outnumbered.
that ain't right.
They made me one. And
it's gone.
Yeah, gone.
Gone, all gone.
Someone keistered it.
I'm laughing.
I hope it was Neil deGrasse Tyson.
You know what? He's got a...
I hope he has, how coffee mugs leave rings?
Yeah.
I hope he offers to show me the rings around Uranus.
Boom! There it is. That's why you bring in the K train. Right away. Right away. Early in it. You don't have to wait for late in the interview. We're coming out.
Astronomical humor. Friends.
Well, I did say this at the top of the show today. If you're only going to read one article on the Daily Mail today, read the article about Megan Fox's boobs. But if you get finished in the men's room quickly. Today's guest has a nice article about the Erica Kirk, Candace Owens saga that I have to tell you, I've been harping on this for a little while now. what's going on in terms of the people trying to exploit the death of Charlie Kirk for their own gain and engagement, which is what governs the internet. You need engagement. So it incentivizes people to take the most sensationalist approach to things in order to get people. It's basically called trolling, I guess is what you'd say. But it's a really morally bankrupt thing when you're doing it in the face of a grieving widow who is clearly grieving on the largest stage they is, an unspeakable tragedy. So you wrote a column that I thought was great. So I want to tip my cap to whoever actually wrote it. I'm kidding. You did. It was fantastic. It was vintage Kennedy. And you had to be feeling something in order to write that. So where were you at emotionally when you decided that this was the column this week?
Tim Pool went on his podcast on Monday because he had, he has talked about how someone fired shots into his family compound in West Virginia. And it's because he has been more vocal in his criticism of Candace Owens. Because, she just engages in gutter conspiracy theories because that's the only way to get traction in the environment that they're in. But it also feels like someone who is very deeply unwell is generating these conspiracy theories. And she is indulging herself constantly. And Tim Pool had enough of it. So it wasn't just, Brigitte Macron is a man and there's a French hit squad who... They're going to kill me. I'm in hiding. They killed Charlie. Israel killed Charlie. And it was turning point. So Tim Pool had enough. And he was like, you have lost your mind. All you people who engage in this, you've lost your minds. And he's like, you are completely upending the MAGA movement, something that you helped to create. The guy who helped get him over the finish line was murdered. And he said the $1 billion question is, how much is Candace Owens making in terms how richly is she monetizing these ideas that Charlie Kirk was murdered by people at Turning Point?
Yeah, amen. It's the trolling game is very lucrative when it comes to something like this,
it's
which
disgusting.
That's gross.
And so no one is saying anything, no one is pushing back, and it's kind of reaching critical mass. So on December 15th, Turning Point is going to have a live stream where they address all of her insanity and all of the claims one by one and surgically dismantle them.
And to be clear, when we're sitting here having this conversation, we're not calling for censorship. We're not trying to take anybody's speech rights. Let the free market sort it out.
That.
That's the point.
We are using our free speech to say,
exactly.
This is not right.
It's just garbage.
Yes.
It's just garbage. You have every right to do it. Okay. I could pause the interview right now and go over and stick it in that socket. Okay, I could. Doesn't make it a good idea. I've seen Mikey do it. He's gotten burnt multiple times. Okay, it's walk awkwardly for about a month.
Why
after
he's always
something like
walking
that.
around with a quart of salve.
He hates it. We're thinking about converting him to the Amish community so he stops doing it with the appliances.
Yeah.
But it's been an intervention in its own right. But the reason
he could become a trad wife. They don't have appliances.
but the reason we were talking about
I
this
churn
is
butter in the dark.
Amen.
At 4 a.m.
Listen. Every video on Instagram, like you can tell what Instagram thinks of your child. If we could just take a sidebar here. Every video Lincoln shows me that's in his Instagram feed, his phone thinks that he is a man with Down syndrome in his 50s. It's just pictures of animals bringing him food and sexy girls whispering about the food. So like a donkey walks in with a giant pizza and goes, "How many slices do you want, honey?" And his phone definitely thinks he's got issues. But we're talking to Kennedy about a lot of issues. And I brought up the Candace thing because people have been coming up to me and asking me about it, and they're doing so under the guise that like she's the super patriot here. And I'm like, no, you guys this is pro wrestling. I don't even buy into the theory that she's crazy. Everybody's like, oh, she's crazy. I believe a lot of people who are following her are nuts and are genuinely bought in. I think she knows what she's doing.
But she's no different than Jasmine Crockett or Ilhan Omar.
Nope.
It's like all they're doing is lobbing bombs of insanity, trying to get as much attention as possible.
Yep.
They want to get votes. She wants to get engagement.
Yep.
Like that's it. And it's like, hey, it's a form of prostitution.
That's a good way of saying it. Although prostitution has slightly more dignity.
Absolutely.
These days, slightly more. I've seen Pretty Woman. They've never made a movie called Pretty Conspiracy Theory. You know what I mean?
But it's like Charlie Kirk was her friend.
I know. dirtbag stuff.
Yeah.
And again, they had a history for a while. It's part of the organization. They were doing a lot of great work. And everybody who was out there saying rest in peace doesn't seem to want to let him. There's been such a massive effort made to speak on his behalf. Listen, his wife has things to say. She's his wife. Let her say whatever she wants. Let her grieve in her own space, whatever way she needs to.
Yeah, and also, like, let her inspire people to carry the torch in his memory and finish the work that he had started and build upon the foundation that he had laid. That is what she's doing in honoring his memory. And she's allowed that right.
Yeah, Erica Kirk, and she's showing you the way forward. Forgive the shooter, which a lot of people still can't even wrap their heads around. But when you are a principled person like that, okay, there's a consistency to your actions. When you are unprincipled, it goes from the Jews did it to the Egyptians gave help to the French are trying to kill me, but it was actually Turning Point who did the whole thing. So we're sitting here having this conversation today on the day his killer is due to appear in court. Okay, the guy who kind of got radicalized and fell into it with a furry.
By the way, looks exactly like Brigitte Macron.
In a weird... But who is this elite unit that's making guys fall in love with furries and try to avenge that? I don't know that any military
Was that
has
at gunpoint?
That sounds like something that would have happened under the
Here's
Biden
a World War
military.
I bolt-action rifle. I'm going to put it to your head. I want you to make sweet love to this guy in a unicorn costume. Go.
Well, I don't know why Mikey just left the room, but there he went.
He's found a socket.
But yes, but the point is, okay, people could say whatever they want in this country. People can believe whatever they want in this country. That doesn't mean they should. And the biggest challenge, and this is the reason I'm so thankful to be at a massive platform like Fox News, is that we don't need, okay, the engagement, meaning we don't have to say sensationalist things in order to make a living. The internet is governed completely by clicks. And if click is the ultimate goal, then it breaks your compass instantaneously because it's always going to point towards what's going to get the most clicks.
Yes.
Whether you realize that or not, that just becomes the business model. And there's no way you could look at her actions in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death and not think this was motivated first, second, and third by clicks.
Yeah.
And
it's sensationalist garbage.
So we move on. One other thing that needs to come up this week, because it is a party week here at Fox. We have the Christmas party. Tomorrow night is the annual Kennedy Christmas party.
Yeah, allegedly.
There are a lot
How have you prepared your liver for that?
Yeah, there are a lot of people.
Is it turmeric? Is it saw palmetto? Like, what are you doing to really cleanse between last night and tomorrow?
It's hard to imagine it's been 3 days since most of those guests were just released under their own recognizance. The people from the year ago party. I mean, that was a hard party. There were people, I'm not kidding, I was smoking a cigar on the balcony, partly because I wanted to, but mostly because I had to make sure members of my staff did not fall off the balcony. It was
I'm proud of that.
We are, because everybody responsibly consumed alcohol and either took an Uber home or slept over. And you have to see Kennedy's parties because by like 7 a.m. it looks like a Civil War battlefield.
Yeah.
There's just people strung.
No, we had a guy sitting on our kitchen floor at 3 a.m. And
you leave Lincoln out of this. He stood up and gave a Gettysburg Address. He's like 4 shots.
Yeah, Pele's like, Lincoln's coming this year, right? And I was like, I think so. She goes, no. No, I already texted him. He's coming.
That's so funny. And that's the same thing that happened in our house. Jenny was like, Friday night, Kennedy's. He's like, I know. I talked to Palin. I was like, that's so funny. This is their Super Bowl, man. Come on.
I know. We try and play defense. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll get wristbands. And if anyone's wearing a wristband, they cannot drink. Do you understand? And like, yeah, right.
Yeah, and then the only other problem is like our kids are so good with tech, they can counterfeit that wristband in a second.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. With holograms.
Lincoln is 3D printing wristbands as we speak. And he'll be in a good celebratory mood. He just passed his road test this week. Do you remember passing your road test? This is the most exhilarating thing. Because driving a car is flying.
Oh,
it's
I
the
remember
closest you get to
failing it 3 times in a row.
Did you now?
Yeah, on my 16th birthday. I could not wait, like Independence, the open road. They were calling me, and I tried to answer, and I went to the DMV in my mom's diesel Rabbit, and couldn't figure out why I didn't pass.
Wow.
And it took 3 tries, and then my mom finally hired a driving school Jinx Driving School. And the guy came, Jinx, yeah. And the guy came to my mom's house and picked me up in a wagon and taught me how to drive. And I was like, I didn't know you had to stop before a railroad track.
I thought you're supposed to beat it. Yeah. I thought it was coming down. It was like a challenge. Well, look at you now. I've driven with you. I've driven with your tour manager, who he would not, your tour manager, who I'm sure is a phenomenal driver, would not pass his road test if he drove the way he drives when I'm in his car. Can I just say that? He feels the need for speed.
Yeah.
There's a real Tom Cruise thing going on there.
Absolutely.
He somehow gets in the car, says, I feel the need for speed, and then he shrinks to 5'1". And then he steps on the gas with those tiny feet.
Yeah, and Lotus is like, if you keep driving like that, I will take a bus.
A bus?
Yeah.
Bring some money, because Mom Donnie ain't making him free no matter what he told the kids.
No, not a chance.
The kids were lied to.
Yeah. Buses are not going to be free. Taxes are definitely going up.
Yeah, amen. That's why we can't have nice things. That's why we're going to be drinking at Kennedy's on Friday night this week.
Probably drinking the blue toilet water. No one knows.
Don't judge us. We've all been there. Back after this. The thing I wanted to talk about in this hour before Hilton gets here is the 2028 election, because it's pretty funny. But today, the rapper Nicki Minaj, I don't know that she's a familiar name to everybody listening, but she's sold millions of records. Nicki Minaj, she tweeted J.D. Vance over Gavin Newsom in 2028. Just appropriate of nothing. She wrote the Vance over the Gav-Nots. She calls Newsom's followers the Gav-Nots. And to be clear, he has wrecked California. They lead the world in net population loss because it's too expensive. There's too much crime. There's too many taxes. They're running a massive deficit right now of about $25 billion. He promised to make homelessness his number one priority. It has doubled on his watch. They've lost over 300 businesses. I mean, by and large, he's a disaster. But what he's trying to do in the Democrat Party is fail upward. Become a national name. Doesn't matter how you become a national name, just become one. Okay, CNN and MSNBC are not going to cover the fact that you've run your state into the ground, but they are going to cover the fact that you're tweeting Donald Trump memes and that you're saying Trump's the devil and he's a threat to democracy and everything else, and that's how you become a national name. So Gavin Newsom is not trying to win the presidency by improving the lives of voters. He's trying to win the presidency the way Jasmine Crockett's trying to win a Senate race in Texas. Just become relevant enough on social media that people will equate likes to good ideas. And that's what's happening now. Oh, this person's got a lot of likes. This must be a good idea. Guys, did you know in my best-selling book, Cancel Culture Dictionary, there was a hospital security guard who was lighting his flatulence on fire on YouTube? Yeah, maybe so. But that guy at the time was the most popular YouTube influencer in America.
What the hell is the world coming to?
For real. And unfortunately, when word got out where he worked and was doing this, he was fired. His employers were not a fan, despite the fact that they probably needed one. And the fact remains, doing something that's popular doesn't mean you're doing something good or you're doing something right. Candace Owens has 30 million followers. Is there any self-respecting person left at this point who thinks she's bargaining with you in good faith?
The answer would be no.
No, stop it. What are we talking about? But understand, in politics, they don't actually cross that rubric. They never bother to say, hey, is this popular because it's good? In the Democratic Party, they just go, it's popular. I guess we're doing that now. And that's how it works. So when it comes to Newsom, who's got a book out this week, they had decided in his own internal polling that authenticity was his biggest issue. People find him to be an oily, sleazy snake oil salesman. So Gavin Newsom decided to write a book about the struggle, about growing up in a fake persona because his parents got divorced and he was just a hardscrabble poor kid. And the fact that his dad was the private attorney for the billionaire Gettys was actually a hardship because he didn't identify with all of that wealth and prosperity. He was just forced to play along with what was happening.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
But that's the premise of the book. Even the guy grew up in opulence and all his kids go to fancy private schools. And of course, he famously said you couldn't go out to dinner and everything needs to be shut down, while he got caught running up an $11,000 tab at the French Laundry in San Francisco. And everybody remembers the viral videos of him closing down public schools and getting caught dropping his kids off at private school. Gavin Newsom is a sociopath. He does not know shame. I saw him debate Ron DeSantis on Sean Hannity's show. DeSantis presented him with the poop map of places people had gone poop on the sidewalk under his watch.
What the hell did you just say?
I wish I was kidding. I know. I didn't believe I just said that either because it's true. And in real time, Newsom is like, well, if you look at the app, the reporting's a little bit behind and the actual percentages on the sidewalk poop are down in that district and this app is wrong. He literally confronted with a poop map because the proliferation thereof in his state has gotten so widespread that people now chronicle it and tried to explain to you that you were the bad guy for bringing it up because he was doing a better job on poop in this particular district than the app was giving him credit for. Guys, as disgusting as this conversation is, it's not about the on-time reporting of an app. It's the fact that we even needed one to begin with. Sociopath. Here is Gavin Newsom. Now, if you remember, he had Charlie Kirk on his podcast. And he tried to backpedal on his support for trans athletes and men in women's rooms and telling kids they're trapped in the wrong body. Do you remember when Gavin Newsom said Democrats should stop using terms like Latinx? And then we played you a 2-minute montage of Newsom saying the word Latinx. Well, apparently he's back to supporting trans kids again. He's supporting the idea that kids are trapped in the wrong bodies and should generally mutilate themselves and get hormone therapy and expensive follow-up treatments and subscribe to a lifetime of medical procedures that, oh, by the way, will deny them the physical ability to become the other thing. Do you know that if you get gender reassignment surgery, you do not feel sexual pleasure in whatever organ they now construct for you out of paper mache? Okay, you don't. You actually can't feel any actual stimulation. So you are just celebrating really expensive Halloween. That's what it becomes. You're putting on a costume, but you don't get to be the thing, you know? As Dave Landau once said on the show, my kid dressed up as Superman and told me he was Superman, but I didn't throw him off the house to see if he could fly because he knew he couldn't. That's the same reality for the trans community. But here's Gavin Newsom saying, no, I want more trans kids. I have a trans godson. Listen to this, clip 44.
So we didn't get into trans sports. That's an issue no one wants to hear about because 80% of the people listening disagree with my position on this. But it comes from my heart, not just my head. It wasn't a political evolution. It was
position being that
I don't think it's I want to see trans kids. I have a trans godson. There's no governor that's signed more pro-trans legislation than I have, and no one has been a stronger advocate.
So now he's back to supporting trans kids. After he was saying about a month ago on a podcast that I don't know how the Democrats got so far in the weeds on this, Gavin Newsom.
You're a liar.
But again, can I just backtrack as a parent who's had the pleasure of watching a child evolve? No child should be permanently frozen in whatever their belief system is at the age of 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. There's a reason you got to be 18 to get a tattoo, buy a smoke a cigarette, buy a pack of cigarettes, pull a voting lever. And the idea that they're now telling these kids they can decide on a permanent gender reassignment surgery for their bodies. Think about that. If you're a little girl, you cannot legally get a boob job when you're 8 years old. But you could get a penis. Really think about that. I mean,
it's people with a dirty mind that think like that.
And if you want one, it's because if you believe you're trapped in the wrong body, it's because you've been trapped in the wrong house. It's because you've been trapped in the wrong classroom. Adults in your most vulnerable state have preyed upon you with their ideology and convinced you because you become a form of currency. That's what they are on the left. If you remember this famous story, it's about a month old now. They covered it a lot on the 5 here on the Fox News channel. It's the highest rated show we have. Okay, we made a cursory mention to it on Fox News Saturday night because, to be honest with you, we don't dabble in a lot of serious stuff on my show. I'm supposed to be an off-ramp, so you don't feel like shooting the TV for an hour. You actually laugh and go, look at this fat guy. It's kind of silly. But the point is, there was a woman out in San Francisco who is a black woman at a Gold's Gym who had a biological man naked in her locker room. She objected to it. He punched her in the face. She went to the gym management and complained. The black woman banned from the gym because they said she was intolerant. It is intolerant to express your disapproval of this naked man in a locker room. as opposed to him punching you in the face, which was just, his way of, speech is violence. So that's a natural response to what you said. And that, distorted worldview is what governs a lot of people in these woke liberal cities. And they've created this hierarchy of oppression. And in the modern Democrat power rankings, the most oppressed thing you were able to be up until a few years ago was a black woman. If you were a black woman or black man, you were oppressed. America's systemically racist. Black people can't get ahead in this country. And you heard it every day from a couple that had become the first black president and first lady. The Obamas, every time there's a microphone, Michelle Obama leaves behind one of 3 mansions to show up and tell you black women can't get ahead. Sometimes she has the conversation with Oprah in the backyard of one of the properties she bought with the $5 billion fortune she has. Do you remember when Oprah interviewed Meghan Markle, who was actually complaining about being a princess in a $50 million mansion as she was interviewed by another black woman, and the two of them sat there and said the DAC was stacked against black women in America? I mean, just a death of shame. But all that stuff happened in California, Gavin Newsom's stomping ground, because they really do, on some small scale, believe that they're the more enlightened crowd in this country. But what they're really speaking to is a lack of self-awareness. Okay? Gavin Newsom talked about failing on the border. That was newsworthy today. He said, we failed on the border. We got to do better where I governed in California. He said that yesterday. Why? Because he knows no serious self-respecting person thinks Democrats did a good job on the border. But why did he say it yesterday? Yesterday, because it's safe to say it right now. The issue is settled law. Trump has secured the border. It's not going to be a debate point in the upcoming election. But did he say it when Biden was letting 20 million people into the country illegally?
The answer would be no.
Did he say it when the border czar, Kamala Harris, was running for office?
The answer would be no.
Because he didn't want to hurt the Democrat Party. And that's what you have to understand about a sociopath like Gavin Newsom. He's not in the you and me business. He's the Gavin Newsom business. Listen to this strategic pivot on the border, clip 46.
We failed on the border. We need to own up to that. Largest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere in my state. Spent $1 billion+ to do migrant centers, try to put a lid on things. And it was quite critical, but I tried to do it in a respectful way of the Biden administration. We failed on the border. We have to own that. But we've also failed as a consequence because of that to lead the comprehensive immigration question. We've got to get the border right, then we can get to that. But I say that to make the point. You don't need sanctuary policy in this country if we have a federal government doing its job.
Well, the federal government is doing its job. But when he says we failed on the border, that also implies that they tried to succeed. And the truth is they didn't. They wanted an open border. They took 94 executive actions to reverse Donald Trump's border policies. It was by design. A failure would be we had all hands on deck and it just didn't work out. We didn't get the job done. We're just going to work real hard in the offseason and hopefully get right back here again next year. Okay, that's what teams say when they fail to win the Super Bowl or the World Series. But when your government actively takes the agents away from the border, creates an app that allows people to fly into this country for free, on the taxpayer's dime from wherever they happen to be. They get a free plane ticket, they get free food, they get a free phone, they get free health care. That's not a failure, because a failure implies you tried to keep them out. Okay? He tried to help import them. And he's trying to make the case that, these sanctuary cities are dangerous and bad, but they're not our fault because people haven't been doing a job at the federal level. By people, he means his party. And he wouldn't criticize his party when Joe Biden was in power. He wouldn't criticize his party when Kamala Harris was on the ticket, because the politics are more important than the people. And that's why somebody like Gavin Newsom is getting called out by a lot of pop stars. Halle Berry trashed him last week. She met him and was like, this guy's a sleaze. Nicki Minaj, the rapper, this guy's a dirtbag. Steve Hilton, who's running to succeed him in California. He knows Gavin Newsom pretty well. He actually does. And he might tell you that on the show in a few minutes when he joins us. But what he's speaking to is results, Steve Hilton, for the people who live in California. What Gavin Newsom is speaking to is results for the Californians who want to move into the White House next. Is it going to happen? In my opinion,